Ajnanatimidandhasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Today we're going to read from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 37 to 45. So here is verse 37. Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddhayo peto yogachalita manasaha apragya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Word by word translation. Arjuna vacha, Arjuna said, ayatihi, unsuccessful transcendentalists, shraddhaya, with faith, upetaha, engaged, yogat, from the mystic link, chalita, deviated, manasaha, of one who has such a mind, aprapya, failing, yoga samsiddhim, highest perfection in mysticism, kam, which, gatim, destination, Krishna, O Krishna, gacchati, achieves. Translation. Arjuna said, what is the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? So thus, in this point in Bhagavad Gita, there is this exchange of knowledge. Arjuna has taken the position of disciple and he's asking Krishna. And this is a very specific question that, okay, so what happens if someone takes to spiritual life, but then somewhere later down the road, then they get distracted, they go to perform some mundane activities, and then they forget the spiritual path. And even what happens if someone tries really seriously to perform this path but doesn't achieve full success? So then death comes, and then again another body, reincarnation, and all these things start again. So Arjuna makes this question, and let's see what Krishna has to say to answer to that. Verse 38. Arjuna continues. Question. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, being deviated from the path of transcendence, perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for yourself, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So he's saying, it's like if you're not a good in spiritual life, you don't complete that path, and you're not very successful. And then if you're not focused on material things because you took the spiritual path, then you're also unsuccessful. So you're stuck in the middle. So what's the use of this kind of spiritual advancement? So he says, you're the only one, Krishna, who can answer this doubt of mine. And in verse 40, Krishna replies, the blessed Lord said, son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So very nice answer by Krishna. If you do good, there's no way you're going to get destroyed. There's no way one can fail if their activities are all towards progress, especially spiritual progress. It's a transcendental state, or pure goodness is also called. And Krishna continues replying, the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. So he explains that when one does good things, by the law of karma, whatever I do, I get in return. If one does pious activities, good things to help others, and spiritual practice to elevate oneself, all these things are pious activities. So one accumulates pious credits. And if it's not enough to go to the spiritual world, one goes to the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets are still within the material world, but it's in a better condition. Just like in this world, we see that someone lives in Africa and someone lives in New York, and their lifestyles are almost opposite. One is almost dying because he has no food. But the rich man in New York, he has a super expensive car and all luxuries and things like that. So even in this planet we can see these contrasts, but there are also, this is earthly planet or middle intermediate planet, and so there's higher planets which are heavenly planets. And over there life is much longer. There's no disease, for example. One lives 10,000 years. There's no need for anxiety, or less anxiety at least, because there's abundant nature and food, and everything is abundant. So there's not so much worries like in this world. Less problems with old age and disease. There's still birth and death. Still the material world. So after one goes there, one comes back and one gets a higher or a better birth. And this is very interesting because there's so many children born every day. But why is one child born in a better family than another one? One child is born, again in Africa, is almost starving already just by getting birth, and then the other child is being born in a castle and with all luxuries, and everything is well taken care of. So these benefits are due to previous activities. This is the only way to explain it, because if we think that the soul only comes and goes in one lifetime, then it would be unfair, because why would God put someone on a more difficult condition than another one? It would be unfair. So God is not unfair. He is fair, and whatever birth we achieve, it means it has to do with our previous activities. So Krishna explains, even if that person fails, he gets to enjoy in the heavenly planets, and eventually his credits will finish, and then he'll get a very nice birth in the next lifetime. And then he says also in verse 42, or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. So he explains that to actually be born in a family which is well educated in spiritual principles is very, very rare. Most people, again, I say this phrase, most people, a lot, because in the West, the chances of being born in a family of transcendentalists is almost like 0.0001%. One will be born in a family where there's all kinds of sinful activities, and it's very difficult to get out of that trap. But if one is born in a place where spiritual knowledge is abundant, it's so much easier, because growing and even within the womb, the baby is already exposed to the actual spiritual path. It's very, very easy, or much easier. And then Krishna says in verse 43, on taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist, striving for yoga, stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So this is something very, very interesting. And I see this all the time because I dedicate myself to teaching this knowledge and to sharing it with others. And it's really, really interesting because you can talk to 100 persons, and out of 100, probably 95 or 99 will say, this is just religion, I don't care. It sounds good, but or it doesn't even sound good. You're crazy. What do you mean, stop eating meat or any of those things, you know? Loving God, and what is this? Most people don't even appreciate it. But there is a few persons who, when they hear the message, their intelligence is captivated. Their mind is captivated that, oh, this sounds very interesting. It's like remembering something that happened long time ago. There's something familiar, like when you meet some old friend that you recognize his face, but you don't know if it's him or not. Similar thing. And the person, when he's exposed to spiritual knowledge again in the next lifetime, he recognizes, and there's a natural attraction. Whenever these topics like pure love of God or devotion, spirituality, things like that, then immediately that person is triggered and within the heart, because there's this vague remembrance of the past. So this is very interesting. And in verse 45 it says, "But when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately, after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal." So, yes, spiritual life sometimes or most of the time takes several lifetimes to succeed, because the heart is in a very fallen condition. The soul is very much fond of this idea of I am the enjoyer and I don't need to serve anyone and all these things. So to change that and to become again a servant and to focus our eyes on God and serve Him and all these things takes some time, especially at the moment of death. If we're thinking of some material object and things like that, then we again return to this world. The trick is to engage all our activities in service of God. By the time we're about to leave our body, then our consciousness is totally absorbed in that spiritual platform. And then we can go to that place. But there is also the chance of achieving spiritual success in this lifetime. In fact, if you are listening to this video, if you have even listened this far to this video, it for sure means that you have already made many things in the past, in previous lifetimes, that have made you attracted to this topic. If someone was totally sinful, I can immediately guarantee that they couldn't watch even a minute. They would immediately be, they feel something is wrong. I don't need this or something like that. But those who are already attracted by the message, it means that they have already made progress. And this is part of the task of sharing this knowledge, that you just have to reach a lot of people, and it's expected that many or most won't be able to even listen, what to speak of understand or think about it. But it is, I honestly believe that anyone who's already interested in these topics and seriously considering practicing spiritual life can very easily achieve success in this lifetime. And if one is successful, one doesn't even have to wait until death, like in most religions. That then when you die, then you have this spiritual, you go to heaven or whatever. In this particular path, the Vedic way, one can achieve success even within the body without having to die, and this is in fact expected. Several 200 years ago, for example, it was a normal condition for anyone who started to practice this path to go very quickly into high states of consciousness. Now, because of Western civilization, it is much harder. The whole atmosphere of the world is very much polluted by materialism. So it takes a little longer, but it is still possible. It is not impossible, and definitely one should understand that there is no better activity, because the other choice is to say, well, spiritual life is too hard, it's going to take too long, so then I will just go for material activities. But the thing is, with material activities, the amount of pleasure available is extremely limited. If I get the car of my dreams, or the house of my dreams, or the wife of my dreams, very quickly I will realize that even when I have these material desires fulfilled, still there's no satisfaction. It's like, okay, now I got the best car, now what? And it's even really sad, because there's so many people who think there's money and then they become millionaires, especially rock stars and things like that. And then they're totally depressed and they're killing themselves. They're taking drugs and almost suicidal. And you would think, oh, they have all the money in the world, what's the problem? And then, well, they have no friends, or they don't have this or that. So spiritual life is, even if one fails, it is just all good, because it will elevate your consciousness. And there's no other way but to try to get out of this material world, because it's just miserable. The material world is full of suffering, birth, old age, disease, death. So we don't need this. We just need pure love and a beautiful place. We can be with beautiful people all the time. This is so much better. And in my experience, I've been practicing spiritual life for about 40 years. And every single time I focus myself, I go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's just unlimited. You really never reach a limit and to say, oh, now I'm bored, I don't have any higher to go. There's always higher and higher and higher. And it is all auspicious. You always feel better, you always feel more fulfilled. So I recommend this Vedic way to everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please visit our website, thevedicway.org. Thank you. Hare Krishna.